This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, hoteliers are asking for more time to comply with safety regulations.
So what we need now is to allow us a more period until the end of September, so the hotels can get an official grace period to be inspected. So that will give them the temporary license to operate.
And this weekend sees the kick-off of multiple tours of our capital city.
A tour of the history of the Cypriot coinage at the Bank of Cyprus Cultural Foundation, the House of Hadjigeorgiakis, which is really nice, it's now upgraded, the Hambis Municipal Printmaking Museum, and other museums like the Cyprus Museum.
Well, the summer holiday season is coming, and as I'm sure you know, the tourism industry in Cyprus is a very large percentage of our GDP, highly important to the island. So it's with a little bit of trepidation that I announce that apparently only 13.5% of tourist units in Cyprus have secured the necessary permits ahead of the summer season. What is that going to mean? We're joined on this week's programme by the director of the Hotel Association, Christos Angelidis. Christos, what does that mean? It sounds to me like a disaster waiting to happen. Have people already taken bookings and they won't be able to open?
No, that's not the case. First of all, technically, the hotels are fully complying and in compliance with all the laws and regulations and international standards and certifications. Where the technicality lies mainly is with abiding, with the details of the fire department specifications. But this one takes a bit of time, and there are not enough inspectors to sign off the certificates. However, there is one more item on that coming from the Planning and Zoning Authority, in that they need to cooperate with the fire department in agreeing exactly which regulation the hotel has to follow. The one that they originally got the permit with at the original time, or the ones they come through in every inspection session.
How often are the hotels inspected? Do you have to renew these licenses every few years?
Every few years, but this coincided when the whole system of getting permits changed. When the time was approaching, the hoteliers, unfortunately, in a massive way, brought in the applications. And so the authorities had no time to issue the certificates, which they had to proceed it through inspection and control. So what we need now, and this is what is going to be discussed in the next few days or a week or two max, to allow us a more period until the end of September, so the hotels can, get an official grace period to be inspected. So that will give them the temporary license to operate.
You're talking about fire regulations. That's very worrying for me, Christos. No, let me just ask you this. Does that mean that some of the hotels operating this summer will not actually have the regulation necessities for fire safety
No.
and that I might be staying in that hotel.
No. All the hotels are in compliance. Now, what I'm talking about, that's why I mentioned the building, that maybe, from the old building, the authority, the hotelier, when on time of application, made certain changes, and in the interim period, now the fire brigade has to recheck whether the new plans are based on the original. If not, they have to reapply. I'm not talking about the operating regulations for the fire department. This one, all the hotels are compliant 100%. This is what is not been made clear from the beginning when they changed the law. They intersected the planning and zoning and the fire authority, the fire department.
Why did they change the law? What changes were made?
They changed it in the time when we moved from the CTO to the deputy ministry.
But that was years ago.
I need time to explain this to you, and over the phone, I think, and over a radio, it will take us a lot of time.
Yeah, but the Deputy Ministry of Tourism was created, 6-7 more years ago?
Yes. So, but they gave a grace period of 5 years to make this the applications, and this grace period was considered as too relaxed. So I don't want to blame anyone now. In reality. But definitely everyone is almost ready now.
This is really difficult for me to understand. If I own a hotel and 6-7 years ago I was given a grace period of 5 years, why didn't I just get on with it? Because it doesn't take 5 years to get...
No, listen, Rosie, to make myself understood. All the hotels, in terms of their operational programs, in terms of safety, security, and fire details are 100% in compliance. We are talking now to put in coordination this with their architectural plans, and this is a choreographic detail now of coordinating the plans with the reality on the ground.
Right, let's talk about that reality on the ground, because I've read reports in the local press that quite a lot of hotels or tourist accommodations, maybe they're not all hotels, perhaps they're apartments, I don't know, have made changes to their buildings which may have been unauthorized. And some of those could have, for example, blocked an emergency exit or whatever. Now, that is very worrying. Why are all these hoteliers or apartment owners making changes without the requisite planning permission?
Well, I cannot talk about the my non-members or unauthorized or illegal buildings. I am just telling you that to our knowledge, the majority, or if not all of our hotel members and the ones that they have their legal permits, first of all, they are inspected by all authorities. And secondly, they're inspected by the tour operators and the travel agencies, and they all have ISOs and HACCPs. So they are, by and large, mostly compliant with everything that has to do with security and safety on the ground and on their buildings. So what is missing now is to get these two things through the choreographic channels and verify the reality and practice on the ground. This is what we need now, time until September.
Okay, so you're saying that all the members of the Hotel Association are abiding by the law. They haven't made unauthorized structural changes to their buildings, because I recall, and I've been here a long time, Christos, I recall back 20, 30 years ago, it was standard procedure for certainly apartment owners in particular to make all sorts of illegal changes to their buildings and then wait for the amnesty to be granted by the government to say, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I remember that 30 years ago. You were right, but there's ever since then, the authorities, either local or the let's say the fire brigade, regularly inspected all these buildings, and believe me, now they're on every other year. All the hotel buildings are inspected. So in reality, what is missing is as I said before, to put in parallel life the legal framework with the planning and zoning authorities.
So you're hoping for what exactly before September? Because the summer season is going to go ahead, you say. But
Yes,
at what point will the authorities be able to say to anybody who doesn't comply, we're taking away your license?
There's a two-stage plan that is going to be discussed in the parliament in the next few days. I hope it will be days, not weeks.
Well, and it seems that it needs to be days, not weeks, that the relevant government departments get on with it, doesn't it?
They should get on. We are all expecting from day to day to be invited at the parliament to give our opinion and on the plan that is going to be discussed. Is for the hoteliers that did not make the application, and from my knowledge, there are about 240 or 50 or so, besides the 13% that they made the application. So there's a missing number that they should make their applications by September to get the initial clearance to make any necessary changes, if needed, by December 26th.
It does sound to me as if this is a bit sort of slapdash, shall we say. I still can't understand why hoteliers did not put in the applications they needed to in the last 4 or 5 years.
You're asking me the question that I already answered, because you need to get the plans approved, first of all, by the zoning and planning authorities, and it takes time. It took time. Additionally, the fire department do not have enough inspectors to go around on a, let's say, much regular time frames to inspect everything. So this time lapse brought us to the situation where we are now. So it's a bit of
it's a mess, basically, Christos, isn't it?
Yes,
we seem to have government departments that are not certainly meeting productivity goals. And then, as I say, it's a little bit difficult if people who are looking for government departments to sign papers leave their requests to the last minute.
Yes. Rosie, what was the suggestion that we put forward, and the Ministry of Tourism made it as well as their official suggestion, is for the ETEC,
yes, the technical chamber.
In the technical chamber, to be sort of its members getting a list of the official control or details that they need to be checked, and so they would be licensed to sign off on behalf of the fire department. So make it easy, and their signature will count. So we will have enough people, professionals, members of ETEC, to inspect and sign off on behalf of their clients the architectural plans or the mechanical plans or the fire department plans. So this will make it much more easier and faster.
Well, let's hope, I guess, that your members and indeed all the non-members who are putting people up as part of our tourist...
Well, we have another association, and I believe that we will abide by the same program and same regulation.
And you think that certainly by Christmas everything should be in order?
September we will know how many, if not all, of the hoteliers who did not make their application so far, that they will apply and get the extra time to make any changes if needed.
Yes,
because some of them are purely bureaucratic.
Christos, I'm back to that thing is we've had 5-6 years and you're still saying they need more time to make their application.
The new application that it required the new fire department points of inspection.
And there are still some pending that haven't put in their application then?
And, it's a possibility that the majority of hotels have everything in order. And this is probably the case. But now somebody must go and check this.
And we don't know, it seems, who that's going to be and when it's going to be. It sounds...
No, we hope very soon. we all look forward to be very soon.
We all look forward too.
Rosie,
yes.
I don't want to spread any worries. I am very optimistic. And as a factor, I come, from 32 years from the front line. Also, I used to be the president of the Hotels Managers Association, Cyprus. So I know most of the general managers, and I know the work they put, along with the owners, to comply and abide by the regulations.
Well, that's good news. Let's finish on good news.
Look, Rosie, no tour operator and no insurance company and no client would go somewhere that they don't feel safe. And believe me, we never had any case in Cyprus, and I hope that we won't have any in the coming years of any, small or big accidents. And I wish that we will keep it that way. Look, the Cypriot hoteliers, because by and large it's family business, they all want to be right and feel pride about their property. It's an extension of their families. So by saying that, I am really, really confident and sure that we are all proud of our house. So they all would like to be right and legal and proper.
That's great news. Christos, it's good to end on a high note. Many thanks for your time. That's Christos Angelidis.
Thank you very much.
Director of the Hotel Association. Many thanks.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Starting this Saturday, the Nicosia Municipality and the Nicosia Tourist Board is organising guided tours of our capital city. And to tell us all about it, from the Tourism Board of Nicosia, we welcome Angeliki Vasiliadou. Angeliki, I think this is something that has been going on for many years, but how do you keep it fresh and up to date? You're kicking off this year's now on Saturday with the Nicosia Walled City Tour. Tell us a little bit more about that as well, please.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me in your podcast, Rosie. So let me answer first on your first question, because this is the third year we're doing the guide tours. The way that we keep them fresh and refreshing, let's say in a way, is that we try to make sure that each year we have on our routes the new stops that are added, or perhaps there's a new museum, or there is a new Instagrammable spot that's worth walking towards it, let's say. And the other way is, of course, we partner with the local stakeholders that they might want to create some type of an extra experience for our participants. For example, maybe a museum will welcome somebody and will have a specific tour on one of the new exhibitions. And then, when it regards to the Nicosia Wall City Tour, it's the one that's most famous from all the 5 different routes, which we have the Nicosia Wall City Tour, the Archaeological Tour, the City Museum Tour, the Religion Tour, and the Architecture Tour. The Nicosia Wall City Tour is basically the one that's more general. It's the essence of the Nicosia's old town within the Nicosia walled city. You go through the narrow streets, the medieval monuments, the houses of traditional urban architecture, and you go through some hidden gems as well. Of course, our guides will help you out with little funny short tips and other perhaps hidden stories.
That's what brings these tours to life, isn't it? We can all walk around the city on our own, but it's not quite the same if we don't know the stories behind some of the buildings and the people who used to live there.
Of course, I think it's like 70-80% of the whole importance, the storytelling, because we don't have time, of course, every day to search through everything. But these guides, they are taught the stories, they are taught the myths behind everything, and they are equipped to make this much more fun than a usual one.
Okay, and you mentioned Instagrammable locations. What makes an Instagrammable location?
There are several points to this. Really depends. I would say for the younger generations, which is really important to have, let's say, their phone and take some pictures and post on their Instagram stories, it would be perhaps either the landscape, it should be attached to some type of fun story or myth, or it should be vibrant and colorful and have some type of view that is really different within the city. Let's say in the bastions are very Instagrammable because there's history behind them, and also the view on top or below is also to be ovoed for.
And I'm guessing that when you get shares on social media from people who take part in these tours, in a sense, they're doing your advertising for you, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We're actually open to this. We're open to collaboration, so we repost everything. We make sure to have like an open, let's say, rule in our social media. So every creator or even a simple person just walking by the city and wanting to post something, they can tag us, visit Nicosia on Instagram, and we will repost them. And it helps grow the community more that way.
Well, it's interesting that we're talking more about young people in the way we are with social media, but let's go back a little bit to find out more about the other tours, because I think in the past it was mostly perhaps older people and tourists on a day trip to Nicosia who took part in guided tours. So tell us a little bit, for example, about the City Museum tour.
Okay, well, the fun fact is that most of our participants right now, at least the last 2 years, have been of the younger ages, which was our goal. Because, of course, the older generation will join these, like the City Museum tour, which is, for example, a tour of the history of the Cypriot coinage at the Bank of Cyprus Cultural Foundation, the house of Hatzigoriakis, which is really nice, so it's now upgraded, the Hambis Municipal Printmaking Museum, and there are other museums like the Cyprus Museum. There's so many things to see, and the history behind it is incredible.
How long do these tours take? Because you mentioned all those museums. You could spend 2 or 3 or 4 hours just in the Cyprus Museum, couldn't you?
You could, of course, but the way that our guides have set up the program is you can finish the tour within 3 hours, sometimes even less. And of course, if any of the participants are tired or they want some type of like break, the guides are always open to any of that.
Now, I know that most of the ones coming up, I think, are in English. There is one tour in Greek on the 18th. It's Easter time, of course. For those who aren't familiar with the traditions here, tell us a bit more about the Epitaphios tour.
Sure. So for this Easter time, we actually have 2 tours, one in Greek and one in English. And usually they are our most crowded tours. So every year on Easter, and especially on those days, what will happen is you will go around different churches within the wall city, because there are several churches, and they will all have an epitaphios, so like a type of grave representing Jesus' grave, basically. And you can go out and like honor it, There are some flowers in it. Usually it's a very low atmospheric vibe, but really depends. Like there's some tourists who are not of that religion who will join this just because they're curious, and everybody is welcome.
And I think we should say that all the communities around each church spend a lot of time, don't they, gathering the flowers and decorating the epitaphios.
Yeah, that's actually part of the traditions. Everybody knows like usually what they will do in small communities, they will have either a specific type of group of women or younger women. For example, in my village, it used to be the young girls who would do it, but in other villages, it's usually the older ladies. And they would gather up with different flowers and they will try to decorate the grave, let's say, in a way that it makes it honor him more. And in the end, it's always about how beautiful it is.
Yeah,
It's
there's quite a
different flowers.
competition about this, isn't there, between separate communities as to who
Yeah.
does the best one.
Well, an informal one, of course. It's not like they're going out saying who has the best one, but the whole point is to try to visit as many churches and as many epitaphio's as you can within a day. And at this time, like at the tour we are providing.
Right, on to the archaeological tour. We have plenty of that in Nicosia as well. Where does that go?
So it's like a journey that goes through ancient times towards the Byzantine period. You go to the Eledri Museum, where you can discover like traces of the oldest ancient city in Cyprus, dating back to the late Chalcolithic era. You can go to the Cyprus Museum, or now to like the new municipality. There is an archaeological space under that as well. You go to the Venetian walls and the fortifications. You can basically see Nicosia in different centuries through that tour.
And the architecture tour, now that's a hot topic these days, isn't it, with all the high rises going up? What does that cover?
Well, yeah, that was kind of like a piloting one we did last year, but it actually had a lot of interest because, Nicosia basically puts together old and new at the same time. Like we have, let's say, the Eleftheria Square, and at the same time we have the Paphos Gate within like 2 minutes of walking distance. We want to show with the architecture tour that there is beauty in both and that there is balance in both of them. For example, you go through the 360 building, everybody sees that every day while you're shopping perhaps. The Jean Nouvel building named Tower 25, the Venetian walls, the De Villa Mode, the Kristallinotissa neighborhood. All these type of neighborhoods, they showcase how the architecture of the old authentic Cyprus culture and the architecture of the new innovative architects like Jean Nouvel has created a vibe in Nicosia that is like new, and it creates the city tourism basically.
There's a lot of work, I know, goes into this from particularly the tourist guides themselves. So let's remind people where they can see the calendar. I found it online, and as we said, it kicks off Saturday the 29th, so that's this weekend with the Walled City Tour at 10:30. I think I'm right in saying all the tours start in Eleftheria Square. Do people have to sign up, or can they just go there and wait to join a group?
It's much more preferable for us for them to sign up because usually one guided tour is up to like 35 invitees. So they can join online. It's a very easy registration process. They have to join our website, visit nicosia.com, go to the section that's called guided tours, and then they can book their preferred guided tour.
And it seems to me that you have them going on pretty well, every Saturday? Some are on a midweek Wednesday, but they go through until towards the end of June.
Exactly.
Then I guess it gets quite hot and you take a break till
Yes.
September. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Like last year we had a few more in the summer, but everybody canceled, so we decided to just put more after autumn. So we have them running up to 20 something of December, I believe. We have about like 49 organized for the whole year, minus of course the hot months.
And I do see that if we're looking later in the year, the Nicosia Walled City Tour also has a / photography marathon. What's that about?
Okay, so this is something we're actually preparing to announce in maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but every year there is a photographic marathon group taking pictures, and then 1 month, like usually in the next year, like January, there are some judges and we have some winners. This year we're gonna make it even bigger by creating the tour, inviting more people, creating a bigger event on this, but there's gonna be more information on this maybe in like 2 weeks' time.
But the details are up now if people want to start their tours of the capital city here this weekend. Visit Nicosia on Facebook, has the details and a link to the calendar, and you have a website too. What's that?
It's visitnicosia.com.
That is Angeliki Vassiliadou from the Nicosia Tourism Board. They're kicking off a season of tours of our capital city. Look it up, and I think we probably don't know as much as we should about our capital city, so you can find out more if you join them on their tours. Angeliki, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.